Today's new to Pilates class is going to focus on the inner thighs and the outer thighs. We're going to start on our backs. So finding a nice neutral position. The pelvis is feeling tension-free. The back is feeling nice and easy on the mat. And we're going to start with our double knee drops. So allowing those inner thighs to stretch and lengthen as we slowly open the legs up. And as we exhale, draw those inner thighs back down toward the pubic bone, feeling that connection into the deep abdominals, as there is a connection from inner thigh through pelvic floor and into deep abs. So we're going to let all of that open and stretch on our inhale. And exhale, slide those inner thighs back toward the pubic bone, deepening through those abdominals. And again. So we're just starting to warm up our inner thighs. We have some good inner thigh work coming in this class. We want to make sure that we are prepared for it. Exhaling. Inhaling. And I'm moving slowly enough through this exercise that even now, just doing these in and outs, I can already start to feel a little bit of shaking in those deep abdomen or in those deep inner thighs as the musculature starts to wake up and starts to engage. We're going to do one more here. And letting the inner thighs fall away with control, lengthening, lengthening, lengthening. And then exhaling, pulling those deep abdominals in, controlling through those inner thighs, especially in the upper range, starting to feel that little bit of a shake and a shake and a shake. Moving into a single knee drop from here. So my supporting leg is going to stay exactly where it is. My leg closest to the camera is going to start to open. I have to engage my inner thigh on my supporting leg, because otherwise it's going to want to counterbalance me by falling to the side. And we're going to pull the leg back in. We're going to alternate to the other side. So this leg active through the inner thigh, stretching the opposite inner thigh, and obliques are very active to keep the hip and the ribs down on the mat. We're going to do one more time on each side with our single knee drops, and then we're going to build on it. One more time, inhaling and exhaling. Now let's build. So I'm going to allow my leg closest to the camera to open, not a lot, just a little bit, because keeping the leg where it is, I'm now going to extend out from my knee. Lots more inner thigh engagement happening here, lots more opposite oblique to support. Bending the leg back in and then closing the leg up, doing the other side. So I'm allowing for the inner thigh to open. From here, I'm going to extend from my knee. Lots of supportive inner thigh because I'm going to want to counterbalance. But instead, I really want to use that oblique. Bend that leg back in and draw the inner thigh back to center. Let's do that again. Opening up through the inner thigh. Working in a range that you can comfortably control, but still be challenged by. And other side, letting that inner thigh open. Now we engage that inner thigh as we add load to it, bending the leg back in and drawing the leg back up. Let's do the other side one more time. Opening. Find that engagement through the core, through the inner thigh, extend that leg out, bring that leg back in and up. I'm working really hard here not to feel the work in my back, but to really draw up through the pelvic floor and find my core support. And then coming back in. Excellent. From here, we're going to go into a nice little hip lift, but instead of doing this in parallel, the legs are going to be turned out. So my heels are together, my toes are apart in a little V shape. Tummy is going to gently pull in. I'm going to fire up my glutes. Inner thighs are active, lifting my bum up off of the mat, keeping those inner thighs really nice and supported. And then hinge at the hips, widen the bum, and come all the way back down. Let's do that again. Exhaling as you fire up the glutes, keep those inner thighs really nice and active. Reaching out through the knees, pressing down through those heels, widening the bum as you come back down. Let's do 2 more like that. Exhale. As we come up, try and keep my hips really nice and square. And down I come. One more time here. Coming up, I'm going to hold that there and go into little clams. So I'm going to draw my inner thighs towards each other, bring the knees towards each other, and then opening the legs up. Inner thighs and glutes working together. And open. Exhale. And open. Exhale. And open. Exhale. And open. 2 more. 1 more. Hold that. Can you feel those inner thighs? Can you feel those glutes? Now, little tiny pulses towards each other. Those legs are going to come just a little deeper and release. A little deeper and release. Just a little bit more. And a little bit more. Is that core still on? Squeeze those glutes and inner thighs. Hamstrings. Everything's working. And 3. And 2. And 1. Hinge the hip. Slowly start to release the glutes, but keep the abs active. And down we come. All right, so we're going to come to a parallel position with the legs now. Taking a breath in, I'm going to draw my heel toward my bum and let my thigh bones sink into the hip joint, coming into my tabletop position. Reaching that leg out. Pausing here. Checking in with my core support, checking in with my inner thigh support on my bent leg. Now I'm going to slowly start to open my long leg out to the side of the mat and then pull it back in. So I need lots of abdominal support here. And there's also, again, that little bit of stretch through the inner thigh and then bringing it back to center. Exhale as you bring it back, and 1 more time here. And bend the leg in. Find a little bit of glute support as we lower the leg back down. We're going to do the other side. Dragging the heel toward the bum. We're going to let that thigh bone sink into the hip joint, coming into our tabletop position. Breath in, exhale as extend the leg out. Take a moment there. Feel the abdominal support, pelvic floor, inner thigh of the supporting leg or the bent leg. Now as I inhale, I'm going to open my long leg out to the side. Exhale, pull it back to center. Now you'll see that I'm only opening my legs so far that I can still control and be supported on my opposite oblique. I really don't want to start doing the hip roll here as I open that leg out to the side. So that might mean that your range is small for this exercise, and that's totally fine. As you get stronger, your range will become larger. Let's do 2 more. 1 more time here. Exhaling, bending the knee in, widening through that glute. A little bit of glute support here, and down. So now we're going back to our hip lifts, but we're going to be in parallel. However, the legs are going to be quite wide here. So we're going to do a couple of hip lifts, finding those inner thighs in this wider position, and then hinge the hip and come back down. Let's do it again. Exhale, pulling up through that pelvic floor. So if you think of your clock face at the base of your pelvis, 12 o'clock is the pubic bone, 6 o'clock is your tailbone, and then your 2 sit bones are 3 and 9. As you inhale, we widen those numbers, and as we exhale, we're going to pull those numbers in and up through the center of the clock, and then come back down. Now that image of the clock is an acceptable image, not just for women, but for men as well. So, gentlemen, if you are joining me here, please use that clock image. You also have a pelvic floor. It's not often spoken about with men, but you do have one. It's very important. It helps keep your organs in. And we want to make sure that you are also strengthening it. So let's do one more time. Let's think of that clock opening wide. And exhale, pulling that clock in and up. Pausing here. We're gonna lift the left heel up and down. Let's go to the right side. Right heel up and down. Left heel up, right heel up. So you should be feeling a bit of work through the outside of the leg as well. This is an inner and outer thigh class. One more time, glutes are active, core is on. And now we're going to lift both heels at the same time. And I'm really aiming for my big toe knuckles here. So I don't want to roll to my baby toes. I want to feel the support across all of my toes, but especially through that big toe knuckle, that big toe joint. Two more. One more time. Let's hinge and come down very, very briefly. We're going to come right back up, and we're going to do a little marching. So anchoring into my glute closest to the camera, I'm going to bring my leg that's furthest away in a step. Anchoring into my glute away from the camera, I'm going to bring my other leg in. So now I'm in parallel. I'm going to open my leg back out to the side, and back out to the side, and then back in, and then back in. Out to the side, out to the side, making sure I'm engaging through the glute on the standing leg so that I'm supporting my pelvis and I'm not rocking and rolling my way through this. I want to think of a nice stable pelvis, and you can always place your hands under your bum if you feel you need a little bit of extra help here. One more time, let's bring those legs to parallel, ending with the legs in parallel. Press down through those heels, reach out through those knees, feel those glutes and inner thighs, and hinge. Hinge, hinge, all the way down. Roll onto your side. Let's get the outside of the leg working a little bit here. We're going to start with the classic Pilates clam. So the first thing I'm going to do is this top hip. I'm going to reach that top hip down to the end of my mat. That's going to help lengthen my opposite waist, so I've got a little bit of space here. My legs are at about a 45-degree angle. I'm going to keep my feet together, giving my glute a squeeze. I'm going to open up my leg to create a nice diamond shape, and then slowly bring the leg back down. And again, engaging the glute and lifting up and down, and again up and down. So starting to feel the outside of the glute working. Let's do this for 3 and 2. Hips are square, so I'm not rocking my hip back as I lift the leg. I'm really trying to work within the hip joint, rotating that thigh bone out. Now we're going to do some internal rotation. So that was external rotation. Keeping my knees together now, I'm going to lift my foot up to the ceiling and I'm going to flex it. Engaging my glute, I'm going to send my leg back on a little diagonal, keeping it bent. So I'm still in my 90-degree position, but I'm aiming sort of for the top of my table behind me. And then I'm going to lower the knee back together. So I'm on this really nice diagonal trajectory here. Engaging the glute, keeping that internal rotation, and bringing the knees back together. Keeping the glute nice and active, and then releasing that glute as I come back down. And exhale. Inhale down. Exhale. Inhale down. Can you start to feel a little bit more of that glute, side bum, glute max, all working here? We got 2 left. Aim for that nice diagonal. One more time here. We're going to bring the knees back together, and we're going to go into an exercise I call the dolphin. We're going to externally rotate our thigh bone, turning it in the hip joint, bringing the feet together, and then internally rotating to bring the knees back together. We're rotating to bring the heels together, and then internally rotating to bring the knees together. So I always visualize a dolphin kind of coming up and out of the water, its fin up and out of the water when I do this exercise. I don't know why, but I do. So just nice and easy. Can you feel that work happening in that hip joint, around that glute? 2 more. One more time, the glute's gonna get a break in a moment. Hold that there, lower the leg with control. And now I'm gonna bring that top leg behind the bottom leg and I'm gonna stretch my bottom leg out. Now, you can bring the foot behind the knee and just place the foot down flat if that is more comfortable for you, or you can bring it up a little bit higher with a high half toe so the heel is actually gonna be lifted, and that's gonna be a little bit more unstable. So work with where you are today. You can have the foot a little lower or you can bring the foot a little bit higher. We're gonna flex that bottom leg, reaching out through the heel. I'm gonna lift 1 inch, lift 2 inches, lift 3 inches, and then come down. Lift 1, lift 2, lift 3, and come on down. Back to our inner thighs. 2, 3, and down. 1, 2, 3, and down. Let's do 2 more. 2, 3, and down. Last one here. 1, 2, 3. Hold it. Come a little inch higher and lower. Higher and lower. So we're at our highest range. We're just deepening it a little bit more. Can you feel that inner thigh working just like that much more? And let's do this for 3 and 2 and 1. We're gonna lower the leg down, lift it right back up, but sort of mid-range now. Point the foot, 5 circles, 1, 2. Feel that inner thigh working a little harder at the top of that circle. Last one in this direction, then reversing it, working just a little bit more. Engage and a little release. Engage and a little release. Last one. Hold it. Flex the foot. Point the foot. Flex the foot. Point the foot. One more time. And then come on down. Let's bring ourselves over to the other side. It doesn't take much to feel that work, right? All right, here we go. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna reach that top hip toward the end of my mat, which is gonna help lengthen my opposite waist. Legs are coming out at about a 45-degree angle. We keep the heels together as we lift the leg and down. Up and down. And again. Let's do this for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now's our internal rotation. So bring those knees together, flex the foot. Keeping the knee bent, we're gonna engage the glute, come up on that little diagonal, and then bring the leg down. Core remains active. Exhale. And again. Let's do this for 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring those knees together. Here's our dolphin. We're going to externally rotate. Bring those feet together. Internally rotate. Touch the knees. Externally rotate. Feet. And come together for knees. The hips are nice and square. Excellent work here. Can you feel that little bit of work deep in that hip joint? Rotating, rotating. 2 more. 1 more time. Hold that, lower the leg down. So here's your choice. You can either bring the foot behind the knee with a nice flat foot, or you can bring it a little higher, lifting up the heel. Reaching out through the bottom leg, we're gonna do a 1 inch up, 2 inches, 3 inches down. 1, 2, 3, and down. 1, 2, 3, and down. Let's do this for 4, and 3, and 2, reaching out through that heel. 1 more time. Stay up there, come up just a little bit higher and lower. Little bit higher and lower. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Come down. Come to your mid-range. Point the foot. 5 circles. 1 and 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let's reverse that for 5, 4. Working just a little bit harder at the top. 2, 1. Hold it. Flex and point. Flex and point. 1 last time here. Flex and point. Lower the leg. Oh my goodness. And then come onto your bellies. We're going to give the legs a little bit of a break and move into a little bit of upper back extension. So first thing we're going to do is pull the abdominals in and away from the mat. Give the bum a little squeeze, and there is energy running out the back of the legs. No dead weight there. Take a breath in. On your exhale, you're going to reach out through the top of your head. Those hands stay glued to the forehead, and we come to just a little lift of that upper back. And then come on back down. Let's do it again. Breath in. On the exhale, pulling in through those abdominals, reaching out through the top of the head, just opening up that sternum, and then melting and melting and melting back down. 2 more. Exhale, lengthening and reaching out. And down. Last one here. Exhale, reach out, reach out, reach out. Stay. Let's take the hands out to the side. We're going to lower the hands down to the ground, then lift them back up. So I'm staying in my little bit of extension, but you can always lower the head and shoulders down if this doesn't feel good. Up and down. Sliding the shoulder blades towards each other. For 3, 2, 1. Bring the hands back underneath the forehead. Pull those abdominals in. Don't lose that support. And then lower back down. Let's do something similar. We're going to pull the abs in, squeeze the glutes, reach out through the top of the head, and come into that little extension. From here, we're going to reach the arms out in front of us into a big V shape. And we're going to do a little flutter kick with those arms, or little flutter arms. 1 arm down, 1 arm up, allowing for a little bit of movement and rotation through the torso. For 3, 2, 1. Come to rest, hands controlling as they come back under the forehead, and then melting and melting and melting their way back down. Let's look at the legs now. So, taking a breath in. On the exhale, I'm going to engage through the glutes. I'm still going to reach out through my legs. So when I lift up my legs, I'm feeling as equal as possible between my hip bones and my pubic bone. Lower the legs back down. Lift the legs back up here. Check in with yourself. If you feel that you are way more into your hip bones than your pubic bone, bring the legs down. Go and grab a towel and place it underneath the hip bones. It will help to level you out. Or what you could do is before you do the exercise, take a breath in. And as you exhale, you want to deepen the abdominals, pressing just a little bit more of the pubic bone into the mat. So we're just kind of tipping the tailbone down the bum. And then try to maintain that as you lift the legs. But sometimes just putting a towel there is also really, really helpful. So do what feels best for you. We're going to come down. We're going to do this one more time, deepening those abs. We're going to come up, hold. Opening the legs apart from each other, pulling those inner thighs back into each other. Open the legs apart, pull them back together. So your heads are going to be resting on your hands like this. I'm turning my head so that you can hear me better. But ideally, keep your spine in nice alignment by keeping the head on those hands, the face looking at the mat. 2 more here. 1 more here. Lower the legs down. Take a breath in. Exhale, bring the legs back up. We're going to go into circles now. So my legs are going to come apart, and then I want to touch those heels together. Touch those heels together. So I'm getting lots of inner thigh, lots of glutes and hamstrings. Up and around. Touch up and around. 2 more in this direction. And then I'm going to reverse it. I'm going to open up, pull those inner thighs together, touch those heels. Pull those inner thighs together, touch the heels. And together. Together. Can you feel that work in the legs? Whew. 3 more. 2 more. 1 more. Hold that, lower the legs down. We're going to bring the legs to parallel, making sure that they are in a parallel position. Take a breath in. Exhale, float the legs up and flex the feet. You're going to bring your heels towards your bum. Then you're going to reach those legs out long. Bring your heels toward your bum. Lots of hamstrings here. And out. Now, if having the knees just floating off of the mat is a little bit too much today, bring the knees back down, and you can absolutely do this work with the knees down. You will feel the hamstrings. Just make sure that you don't start puckering the bum up to the ceiling. Really engage the glute to press the pelvis into the mat. So whichever option you choose, there's a ton of glute engagement happening and hamstrings. 2 more. Woo, 1 more time here. Let those legs go out nice and long. Let those feet point and relax. And push yourself back into a well-deserved child's pose. Allow those glutes and hamstrings to open wide. Breathing through it. And then we're going to come onto our elbows. So, lowering ourselves down. Before I bring my legs up, the first thing I want to do is make sure I'm not sinking in my back or my shoulders. So really actively push that floor away. So it's going to lift the chest up. Pulling the abdominals in. I am in a neutral spine here. I want you to watch my low back. We're trying to avoid the sink. So I want you off your pelvis, and I want you balancing more around the tailbone. So from here, we're going to bring the legs into tabletop. Now, if you hate this position, your body does not like this position, you can lie down on your back to do this work. We're going to open the legs up. Open the legs into a V, bend the legs, and close. So this looks like the exercise we did at the beginning of the class, but it's both legs in a tabletop position. Bring those legs to a V, bend those legs in and down. So remember, you can always do this on your back. You don't have to do it lifted. Let's do 3 more like this. In and together. 1 more time. In and together. Bonus one here. Open the legs, find your V, flex the feet. Keep the legs long, bring those heels together, open wide. Lots of low abdominals, lots of inner thighs. And exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Push the floor away. 2 more. One more time. Open the legs, bend, deepen those abdominals, control through those inner thighs, and bring the legs down. Let's come down to our backs. We're gonna give the legs a little bit of a break here and go into some nice abdominal work. So, hands coming behind the head. We're gonna bring the legs up into tabletop, breath in. Exhale the other leg up. We're gonna keep the legs where they are. As I exhale, I'm gonna pull up through that pelvic floor, deepen those abdominals, and I wanna think of curling up and over, lengthening myself back. Exhale. And back. Exhale. And back. Exhale. And back. One more time like this. Exhale. And back. This time, I'm going to reach my leg out as I curl up. So one leg reaches out, bring it back in. The other leg reaches out, bring it back in. One more time. Making sure you're not pushing the belly up as you exhale and curl up. Draw the belly in, pull that pelvic floor in as you curl. This time we're going to extend the leg and hold it out there. Hold. Open the leg a couple of inches up, pull it back in. This is still an inner thigh and outer thigh class. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Come in. Other side, curl up, reach it out, open and close. Pull those abdominals in and up. Last one. In and down. Lowering the legs and letting them go nice and long. We're gonna look at a little oblique work now. So the hands come back behind the head. I'm gonna curl up through center and then rotate head, collarbone, rib cage toward you. And then come back down. Curl up through center, then head, collarbone, rib cage. And down. One more time on each side. Curling up, rotating head, collarbone, rib cage. And down. Last one here, curling up head, collarbone, rib cage, and down. This time when I rotate, I'm going to lift the same leg that I'm rotating toward. So as I curl up and start to rotate toward my right side, my right leg is going to lift, and then I'm going to lower that leg down as I lower the head and shoulders. To the opposite side, curling up to that left side, pulling that left leg in, and down. Maintaining my neutral pelvis as I do so, so trying not to dump out into my back. And what I mean by that is I'll demonstrate it on this one. I don't want you to sink into your spine because then, can you see how now I'm not supported? I'm not at all supported through my abdominals as I do that. You want to maintain the neutral. Exhale, pull those abdominals in. Feel that little bit of space in the low back. One more time here. Exhale, curl, pulling those abs in. And down. We're going to build on it for the last 4. So as we curl up, we bring the leg we're curling towards in. Opposite hand is going to cross to the knee. And I'm just going to deepen my rotation. Just reach my fingers a little bit more and then come down. Let's do the other side. So I'm curling up. I'm looking at that leg. Reaching my arm out, going just a little bit further, reach just a little bit further, reach just a little bit further, and then come back down. One more time on each side. Just deepening that curl just a little bit. And then down. One more time. Rotate, 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 and down. All right, coming up onto our hands and knees. My hand furthest away from you is going to come onto the elbow. extending the opposite leg out, and I'm gonna open my pelvis up toward you, keeping that top arm connected to the floor. I'm gonna bring my leg around to the side, lowering it down to the floor, lifting it up and reaching it back. Doing that again, down to the floor and up. So you can think of it as like a half rainbow, sweeping down and lifting up, down and up. This is a lot of outside of the leg happening here. Let's do 2 more. And 1 more, ending strong with these exercises. Hold that there. Let's go to little pulses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hold that. Circle for 5, circle for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Reversing. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Hold that. I'm gonna push the floor away with my top arm, bringing myself back into my 3-point kneel. So my hips are now facing the floor. My leg that is still out straight, I'm now gonna cross it to the opposite side of my mat and then lift it up back to center. So I'm completing my rainbow arc here and getting a little bit of work on the outside of my leg and glute. Pulling those abdominals in. Let's do this for 4. Just flexing my foot, getting a little foot cramp there. You can do this with a flexed foot if you'd like. And 1 more time. Whoo, bring that leg in, and we got to do the other side. I need to turn around because I'm going to hit my table. So coming down onto that back arm, front arm stays connected. Extending my leg out and then rotating my pelvis towards you. I'm going to go into my first little rainbow arc, bringing the leg down and lifting it up. I'm just going to bring myself forward slightly. Let's do it again. Down and up. Down and up. Let's do this for 3. Feeling a lot of work through that glute. 2. Whoo. 1 more time. Keep that leg lifted. Pull those abs in. We've got pulses for 8 and 7 and 6 and 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. 5 circles. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Reversing that for 5 and 4. 3, 2, and 1. Pause. Push the floor away with that top arm. Come into your 3-point kneel. Hips are facing the floor. Inner thigh is active on the supporting leg, so you're not sinking. Cross the leg. Lift it back to center. Cross the leg. Lift it to center. Push the floor away with those arms. Pull the belly in. 3, 2, 1. Bring the leg in with control. Sit yourself back. We'll go into a spine stretch forward to finish. So allowing the legs to open into a V shape. Arms up. I'm going to hinge at my hip joint, so I'm sending my bum, reaching my bum cheeks back behind me as I fall to the floor. Falling all the way down to the floor. Getting a nice stretch through the back of the leg. And then stacking myself up tall. Imagine that there is space between those vertebrae, little balloons helping you float a little taller through the spine. Let's do that 1 more time. Arms up. Exhale, hinge the hip. Really think of sending the bum cheeks back behind you. You can bend the knees here if it's a little bit too much, or you can put a pillow under your bum if you need to lift yourself up a little higher. Flex the feet, point the feet, whatever feels best for you to feel a nice stretch through the leg. And stacking yourself up tall, little balloons between those vertebrae, little clouds, so that you feel like you're floating through the spine. We're just going to finish by coming into a bit of a deeper squat. We did a lot of inner thigh. I'm going to send one leg out and get a little bit of stretch through my inner thighs here, gently pressing the bent leg out, and then also just gently allowing gravity and the weight of my leg to give me a stretch through the long leg here. Never forcing the stretch, just allowing for the tissue to gently release, let it work in its own time. Other side. Again, never forcing the movement. We want our bodies to trust us and trust our movement. If we try to force it into something it's not prepared for, it's not going to like it very much. So take your time with it. Just breathe through it. Don't worry about the range. Just work with where you are. And then in. Thank you so much for joining me. It is always an absolute pleasure to be welcomed into your home. I hope you enjoyed today's class, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye.